The operations and maintenance of the existing terminal is now being handled by the Luzon International Premier Airport Development Corporation, and currently, Lipad is continuously working on reinventing the airport to offer world-class service. With all these developments happening in Clark, we can see a zone that remains to be robust, resilient, and safe. The presence of a dedicated task force, stronger testing capability, connectivity to vital infrastructure, and the resilience of facilities help fuel the momentum to push our country forward. In view of the current situation involving COVID-19, implementation of infrastructure projects is subject to the compliance of construction safety guidelines. In addition to the regular occupational safety and health guidelines of the Department of Labor in the construction industry, the following are among the special requirements and regulations for the protection and prevention against COVID disease. Daily monitoring of our health workers, health checklists, exposure checklists, issuance of quarantine passes, physical distancing, discouraged of sharing of hand tools and power tools, regular disinfection at work areas, and no deployment of workers with pre-existing health conditions, including persons above 60 years old, so as not to compromise their immune systems. Yet it is comforting to know that in these trying times, many Filipinos from all walks of life have chosen to step up in the spirit of bayanihan. We have witnessed bursts of charity and resourcefulness from various groups and partners all around us. And because of this, hope will continue to emerge among us in the midst of uncertainties for what may still be a very long battle ahead. The national government, in partnership with the private sector and the local government units, was able to execute the conversion of 11 public and private structures in Metro Manila, Central Luzon, Laguna, Davao City, and mega community quarantine centers, or We Heal as One centers, with a total bed capacity of 2,584. 30 units of container vans were also repurposed into mobile rooms which can be used as additional COVID-19 isolation health facilities. We will be doing our best to make sure that those who are sick have access to healthcare facilities. Construction of isolation or quarantine facilities is being considered in other areas. As doctors, nurses, and other medical personnel are in the front line of the fight against COVID-19, we're also building off-site dormitory facilities in order to provide them great respite so they continue to do their job safely. There are 6 units of cluster dormitories within the compound of Quezon Memorial Circle, which is comprised of 96 air-conditioned rooms with toilet and bath facilities. This can accommodate a total of 192 medical personnel and frontliners. Additional off-site dormitories will also be built in Lung Center of the Philippines and Jose Lingad Memorial Hospital. Also, we assisted in the Philippine General Hospital and Lung Center of the Philippines in refurbishing private rooms for COVID-19. And we also utilize resources to ferry health workers to their respective hospitals and transport supplies and materials to medical facilities that need them. With our strong foundations, we must vigorously pursue sustainable and resilient development. At the heart of this is an infrastructure agenda for the Build, Build, Build program that can help jumpstart economic recovery, one that would help the Filipinos to remain employed or find new opportunities for employment. Let me, on behalf of the infrastructure cluster, reassure you that while this pandemic may have disrupted the implementation of projects, with the right mindset, scientific advice, and our whole of government approach, we are still committed to complete many of our projects within the next 2.5 years. As we start to open our economy to a path of recovery and resiliency, we earnestly seek the understanding and cooperation of each and every one of us for what we expect to be a long, tough period ahead. The government commits to do its best in leading us through these adversities, but we also need the help, more than ever, and strong backing of the Filipino people. In these dark times, we have seen the Filipino spirit provide us with a beacon of light that reassures us all that we will prevail in this fight, and we will continue in our commitment to provide a bright, prosperous future for our beloved country. As we heal as one, we build our future as one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Mark Villar. There you have it. Updates from our economic and infrastructure clusters. Now that we've already heard from our cabinet secretaries, it is time we hear from the public. Last week, we sent out a call for Filipino netizens to submit their questions on how the government will help Filipinos recover from the effects of the COVID-19 crisis. We will be featuring a number of the questions submitted. Answering your questions are still our speakers for today. Live via Zoom, we have Secretary Dominguez, Secretary Villar, and Governor Jokno. We also have on Zoom other members of the cabinet. We have Secretary Boy de la Peña, Secretary William Dar, we have Secretary La Peña, we also have Secretary Carl Chua, Secretary Mon Lopez, Secretary Avisado. We do have Secretary Bernadette Puyat, the Secretary of Tourism. Yes, I mentioned Secretary Chua already. Arturo Boncato, the Undersecretary for the Department of Tourism. Alain Pasqua, Undersecretary of the Department of Tourism. Emmanuel Rey Caintic, OIC, Undersecretary, Department of Information and Communications Technology. Secretary Art Tugade of the Department of Transportation. We also have Secretary Carlo Nograles, our Cabinet Secretary. Yes, I did mention TESTA Director General, Secretary La Peña. Secretary Al Cusi of the Department of Energy is with us. We are now ready to take the questions. So for the first question, let's proceed with a video from our stakeholders here in #AskYourSecretaries. Our first question is from a law student, Christine Sumaway, and this is for Governor Jokno of the BSP.
Hi, I am Christine Sumaway, and my question for the Cabinet Secretaries is, in light of the Wirecard incident, criminal minds may be targeting the Philippine banking system because of our bank secrecy law. What is the BSP's action plan to help ensure passage of the amendments to this law? And what is the BSP's statement to opposing parties to the amendments to the present bank secrecy law?
All right, lifting of the bank secrecy is one of the key reforms that the BSP has been pushing for years. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas will continue to communicate to Congress the importance of the reform to align our laws with international best practices, as well as to better protect our banking system and our people from potential fraudsters. BSP is also working closely with the Department of Finance to help push the immediate passage of this critical piece of legislation that will finally break the walls in Lebanon that still implement stringent bank secrecy laws. Meantime, our reform agenda for the financial sector continues. We continue to ensure the effective implementation of existing regulations. The Bangko Sentral has implemented significant reforms to protect the integrity and promote the sustained safety and soundness of the Philippine financial system. This includes raising the bar for corporate and risk governance and internal controls, strengthening the anti-money laundering laws and regulations, and establishing robust financial surveillance. Both the BSP and AMLC are open and eager to collaborate with international agencies and German regulators who are dealing with the matter to hold the fraudsters accountable and to give justice to those who have been harmed by their acts. Apart from conducting investigations, we have reminded the banks to strengthen their Know Your Customer protocols and to be very strict in knowing their clients. Moreover, banks are also reminded of their obligation to know your employees. Their respective compliance offices and internal audit functions should be able to assess their employees' behaviors and financial transactions in the same manner that they assess and monitor their customers.
To Governor Jokno. The next question is from Casey Sandoval, an emergency room nurse and frontliner. And this question is for both NEDA and the DBM.
Ako po si Cassie Sandoval, isang emergency room nurse. Ang tanong ko po sa ating cabinet secretaries ay, lahat naman po tayo naapektuhan ng pandemyang ito. Para sa mga hindi nakakaintindi ng economic jargon, sa simpleng salita, may sapat po ba tayong pondo para labanan ang COVID-19? At ano po ang maaasahan ng bawat Pilipino mula sa Economic Recovery Plan?
Sa panig po ng Department of Budget and Management, siguro po ng ating pamahalaan, ng ating gobyerno.
Okay, so we will ask Secretary Abisado to please unmute your microphone. We can ask NEDA Secretary Carl Chua to respond first.
Thank you very much.
Sec Chua.
Can you hear me? Thank you very much for the question. Basically, ang una po nating dapat alamin ay maganda po ang kalagayan ng ating ekonomiya bago pumasok yung COVID-19 crisis.
Seems like we also have an audio problem with Secretary Carl Chua. Again, the question is from Cassie. And Cassie Sandoval is a nurse and frontliner. Handa na ba si Secretary Chua? The question is, lahat naman po tayo ay naapektuhan ng pandemyang ito. Para sa mga hindi nakakaintindi ng economic jargon, sa simpleng salita, may sapat po ba tayong pondo para labanan ang COVID-19? At ano po ang maaasahan ng bawat Pilipino mula sa Economic Recovery Plan? So we can try again, Secretary Chua. They're ready. And Secretary Abisado. While we await Secretary Chua and Secretary Abisado, you're still watching the Pre-SONA 2020. At dito po sa Pre-SONA ay malalaman natin ang kasagutan sa mga katanungan ng ating mga kababayan patungkol po sa economic and infrastructure clusters dito po sa ating bansa. Okay, so let us now play another video.
Hi, I'm Gian Robidilio, and my question for our cabinet is, given our national debt increasing at an alarming rate, is there a limit to how much we will be borrowing? And what are our government's concrete plans in order for us to pay for it?
Finance Secretary Dominguez, maybe you can take the question.
Thank you very much for that very important question. As you know, first of all, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, sir, you must realize that the country's debt should be measured against its ability to produce. So our ability to produce is expressed in the number called GDP, which is Gross National Product. Okay. Now, our debt used to be 70% of GDP, but slowly the various administrations brought it down, and President Duterte's administration brought the total debt to GDP ratio down from a high of 70% to around 39% only. So in other words, we are very conservative. We have not borrowed so much money in the past. We are, however, because our economy has slowed down during the COVID crisis, we have not been able to collect taxes as we had planned. In fact, we are 16% below last year. And we also have been spending a lot of money on our COVID response. And in fact, I said we spent already 375 billion pesos on COVID response alone. So because our collections are down and our expenses are up, we have had to borrow money. And we are planning to bring up our debt to GDP ratio to around 50% from 39%. And that is still very affordable. Mainly because the cost is very low. The cost of our debt, the interest rate that we are paying on our debt is historic lows. And one of the reasons is that our credit rating is very good. So we are planning to borrow up to 50% of GDP, up from 39% at the end of 2019, and the repayment will come from our taxes in the future. And our taxes are going to come from healthier Filipinos working, from return to economic growth as we expect starting next year. So the debt is very manageable and it is affordable for us. So I'd like to assure you, sir, and the entire Filipino people that we have the capacity to borrow. We are borrowing at very low rates, and we have the capacity to pay these loans in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Sani Dominguez. We will now go back to the previous question from Cassie Sandoval.
Ako po si Cassie Sandoval, isang emergency room nurse. Ang tanong ko po sa ating cabinet secretaries ay, lahat naman po tayo naapektuhan ng pandemyang ito. Para sa mga hindi nakakaintindi ng economic jargon, sa simpleng salita, may sapat po ba tayong pondo para labanan ang COVID-19? At ano po ang maaasahan ng bawat Pilipino mula sa Economic Recovery Plan?
Let's ask first Budget Secretary Abisado to respond to the question.
Maraming salamat po. Naririnig niyo pa po ako, Secretary Mark.
Yes, sir. Please
Secretary
go ahead.
Mark.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
May pondo po ang sapat na pondo po ang ating pamahalaan upang tugunan at labanan ang COVID-19 pandemic. At ito nga ay napatunayan nung pinasa ng Kongreso ang Bayanihan to Heal as One Act, na kung saan binigyan ng kapangyarihan ng ating Pangulo na maglaan ng pundong sapat upang tugunan ang iba't ibang programa at proyekto ng pamahalaan at ng iba't ibang ahensya upang malabanan ang pandemyang ito. Sa ngayon po, umabot na sa 374.8 billion pesos ang nagagamit ng ating pamahalaan upang matugunan nga ang pangangailangan ng ating mga taong bayan dahil nga po dito sa pandemyang ito. At patuloy din po ang pakikipagtulungan at diskusyon ng ating Executive Department sa Kongreso. At ang economic cluster nga po na pinangungunahan ng Department of Finance, ng NEDA, ng Bureau of Treasury, ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas at ng DBM ay nagsisikap po na maisaayos ang mga kinakailangan pang pundo upang matugunan natin ang pangangailangan ng ating mga kababayan at nang sa ganon ay may pagpatuloy din po natin ang sigla ng ating at ibalik ang sigla ng ating ekonomiya. At dyan po sa puntong yan ay higit na maintindihan at maunawaan natin ang kasagutan ng ating kasamahang Secretary Carl Chua ng NEDA po. Basta po ang aming gusto lamang na sabihin ay opo, meron pong sapat na pondo ang ating pamahalaan upang tugunan at labanan ang patuloy na pananalasa ng COVID-19 na pandemic po sa ating bansa. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Secretary Abisado. NEDA Secretary Carl Chua, ano po ang inyong sagot doon?
Salamat po, Sec Martin. Una po, maraming salamat po kay Cassie at sa lahat ng mga nurse, doktor at healthcare worker na tumutulong po at nag-aalaga po sa lahat ng mga natamaan po ng COVID. Kami po ay saludo sa inyo. Sa tanong niyo po, na paliwanan na po ni Secretary Abisado yung kakayahan natin para pondohan ang COVID response natin. Ngayon po, ang itutugon ko po ay yung tungkol sa Economic Recovery Plan. Nagsimula po tayo noong Marso through the Bayanihan to Hilas One Act para magbigay po ng emergency response para matulungan po ang lahat na naapektuhan, lalo na po yung sa healthcare sector natin, yung frontliners at sa mga mahihirap at mga nawalan po ng trabaho through our social amelioration program at yung ating small business wage subsidy. Ngayon po, sa ating second phase, kami ay kumakausap with Congress para maipasa na po sa lalong madaling panahon yung ating Economic Recovery Program. Itutuloy po natin yung ating suporta sa healthcare sector dahil kung may kumpiyansa po at confidence ang ating mga mamamayan sa ating healthcare sector, sila po ay pwede pong bumalik sa kanilang trabaho. At ito po ay isa sa mga priority natin, yung testing, tracing, isolation, and treatment. Yung pangalawa pong priority natin sa ating Economic Recovery Program ay yung to sustain our food supply dahil ito ay isa sa mga basic needs po natin at nakita po natin sa ating inflation rate sa month of June na pababa rin po ang ating food inflation. At yung pangatlo po na malaking programa natin ay yung Build program, yung ating infrastructure program na malaki ang matutulong dito sa ating employment or job prospect. Isa sa mga kasapi dito ay yung digital infrastructure at isa sa mga priority ng ating gobyerno ay yung pabilisan yung implementation ng national ID para lahat po ay matulungan magkaroon ng legal identity, magamit ito para mabuksan yung
Ezekiel John Calderon.
Ako po si Ezekiel Calderon. Ang tanong ko po sa ating cabinet secretaries ay ano po ang hakbang gagawin ng gobyerno upang masigurado ang food security at sapat na supply sa ating bansa, lalong-lalo na po ngayon na may COVID-19 pandemic. Ayon po kasi sa isang pag-aaral ng Food and Agriculture Organization ng UN, ang COVID-19 pandemic po ay maaaring matreten ang ating global food security at supply. Maraming salamat po.
Napapanahon na katanungan.
An unprecedented crisis in modern times, the COVID-19 pandemic is impacting on food systems, disrupting agricultural value chains and movements, and posing risk to household food security. So with that, we are trying to look at policy shifts during this new normal And we just adopted a new food security framework, which have been approved by the IATF. And this framework would compel everyone, those stakeholders in the food systems, ensuring food security for the whole country, that there must be transformation everywhere in food systems, from production to consumption and all places in between, and which will compel us to do things differently. So what are the shifts we are wanting to pursue? A focus on production, but now equally a focus on consumption, empowering those marginalized in the system and supporting diverse distribution efforts. So ang ibig sabihin dito, itong last 100 days, we have seen na ang pinaka-problema po dito ay it was more a problem of logistics and movement of food supplies. We have enough food supplies during the last 100 days and will continue to have enough food supplies in the next 6 months and beyond. Now, another shift ay recognize the food systems interconnectedness with other systems and sectors. Kagaya po sa economy, sa health sector, and environment towards building resilience overall. And the third one is policy shift addressing hunger and all forms of malnutrition, such as obesity and micronutrient deficiencies. We have now to look at quality food, good nutrition, balanced nutrition, and the like. And number 4, we should see to it that the solutions that we provide in terms of ensuring food security are context-specific and recognizing the differences between urban and rural areas. Now, having said that, those policy shifts, we during this pandemic, we had quick response programs like that of working with the IATF because they were managing in terms of when the various sectors should open. So we saw to it that the farming and the fishing industries must have skeletal to optimal and to full operations, which now is happening for the whole sector. And of course, during this pandemic, about 15% of the farmers and the fishers were disrupted, and 35% of them were not able to market their produce. So we had Kadiwa Niani at Kita that brings a stronger partnership with the agribusiness people, tracking the produce from the trading post from, say, Benguet, from Nueva Vizcaya, from Sariaya, Quezon, and many other points towards the metro areas. We also, the sales as a result of the intervention coming from Kadiwa ay nasa level ng 5.5 billion. So it's formidable. It's such an important intervention that we will continue to institutionalize even under this new normal. We also encourage the local government units to buy raw products from their domestic farmers. And you know what, 2.5 billion pesos worth of food packs for their distribution happened. And so in many ways, we have put in place an overall umbrella program of the Department of Agriculture to elevate and or increase food sufficiency level during this new normal. And that is the plant program. So this plan program, just like the build program for infra, this is really, again, with the overarching goal of ensuring food security of the country. So this is true not only for crops, but for livestock, vegetables, fruits, and fisheries. Let me assure everyone that there is hope in seeing to it that, yes, we are working with the farmers and the fishers to produce enough food, and we are there nurturing and catalyzing all these efforts in tandem with various stakeholders, the local government units, so that the level of productivity that we have to have and the desired income for the farming and fishing sector will happen. Thank you, Sec Martin and all.
Maraming salamat po, Secretary Dar. Ang susunod na tanong ay magagaling sa isang representative of the youth sector, si Honey Grace Alfonso. And this is for the Department of Trade and Industry.
Ako po si Honey Grace Alfonso at ang tanong ko po sa ating Cabinet Secretaries ay ano po ang mga hakbang o programa ng ating pong pamahalaan para po matulungan ang mga maliliit na negosyo, lalo na po ang mga small online businesses sa ganito pong panahon ng pandemya. Salamat.
Secretary Mon Lopez, the floor is yours.
Magandang araw po. Salamat po sa inyong katanungan. Marami po tayong programa para matulungan po lalo na yung mga maliliit na negosyo, lalo na dito sa mga lumalakas na online businesses sa panahon ngayon ng pandemya. Una-una, marami tayong ginawang mga webinars or online seminars. Sa aming bilang po, over 500,000, mga 517,000 na ang naging attendees nito to help our micro SMEs to migrate online yung kanilang mga negosyo in marketing their products, dadalhin sa digital platform para ho mas malawak ho ang maaabot nito. We have partnered also with major online platforms tulad ng Shopee and Lazada para ho mag-guide sila maging online ang kanilang e-commerce business. Ang ating pong Small Business Corporation nagbibigay po ng microfinancing program that will also help the small online businesses. To date, we have received over 23,000 application for loans mula po nung nilaunch natin ito. At mga 1,994 na po ang na-process dito na approved, 152 million pesos worth. At inaasahan natin na ito po, aabot tayo sa mga 500 million by the middle of July. Ito po ay manggagaling sa 1 billion fund, 1 billion peso fund. Na soft loans, zero interest rate and payable in 18 to 24 months. Under our regular program of pondo sa pagbabago at pag-asenso na inumpisahan po natin kasama po led by our President Duterte, nakapag-release na rin po tayo ng 7 billion pesos